you go to see films to forget your worries of the day. That kind of cinema will bore them.
Art film.
Art film. Art film. Bore adikkude. That is the term. The only purpose of which was to give immediate, instant entertainment for the audiences. It never made people think. People used to enjoy a rape scene. People used to enjoy somebody stabbing somebody else. Now, violence became a box office element. And I am very particular that the film that I make should live beyond the period in which it is made. Otherwise, it will be like newspaper reports. Because there is a theory that the audience, when you make the audience think, they don't like it. Nobody can understand my films better than Kerala audience. But if they refuse to understand, what can I do?
உங்களோட டீம் சைஸ் எவ்வளோ?
Very small. Because I don't like a crowd around me when I am working. Who would be watching you like that? No. I have never gone and narrated any story to anybody. Never. I did not reach that stage where producer would ask you, tell me the story. No.
அந்த பக்கத்துக்கே போகல.
அந்த பக்கம் வரையும் போகல. அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே திருப்பி.
Mr. Satyajit Ray.
So the questioner asked who is your favorite director. He said Adoor and nobody else. That was quite a big tribute. In 10 minutes, he started laughing aloud in the hall, ho, 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 like that. Other than special effects, there is nothing in it. It is like Ayan Dalevang Yaboru Sindhamani. Poor audience is brainwashed.
To watch the
They are told that this is the greatest thing happening because we have spent so much money on it. And every media is writing about it. It's not only as ad, but also paid ad. It was chosen as the best Indian film. I was very surprised and I felt very sorry for it. None of those qualities will match there, except that EFX. EFX, you spend money, you can make EFX. So what? Prevailing politics in Tamil Nadu at that time, I could see that.
Oh, you could see that?
Yes. In every decade or so, there used to be masters. And then we see films, we see dream films, we eat films, we drink films.
Oh. In this episode of Beyond is Maatheyosi with Madhavan, we have Mr. Adoor Gopalakrishnan with us. Vanakkam. Indeed, a proud moment for us, for me. எங்களுக்கு இப்போ இருக்க யங் ஜென்ரேஷன் ஃபிலிம் மேக்கர்ஸ்க்கு சத்யஜித் ரே, ரித்விக் கட்கட், அடூர் கோபாலகிருஷ்ணன், உங்களோட படங்கள்லாம் ஒரு பெரிய லேர்னிங் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸாக இருக்குது. படங்கள்ன்றதை தாண்டி பாடங்களாக இருக்குது. நீங்கள் யங்ஸ்டராக இருக்கும்போது பூனே ஃபிலிம் இன்ஸ்டியூட்டில் யாரோட படங்கள்லாம் உங்களுக்கு பாடங்களாக இருந்திருக்கு?
நிறைய படங்கள் இருந்தது. ஆக்சுவலி புனே இன்ஸ்டியூட்டில் படிக்கும்போது ரைட் ஃப்ரம் தி ஃபஸ்ட் ஃபிலிம்ஸ் பை மெலிஸ் and his brother, we used to see them from that point of time. So we used to look at how cinema progressed from single shots to storytelling, small incidents, then it tells a story, then slowly it was growing in size, in its impact, in its spread, everything. So that is a long process of learning. So in every decade or so, there used to be masters. It's actually Soviet Union, even before they started making their great films, they were learning films from America, from Griffith, films from Griffith and others. What they did was, they used to have something called the film lab. They called it the film lab. And where it's not processing lab, but then a theoretical lab. They would analyze these films.
Study films.
And whatever Griffith did intuitively, these people analyzed the reasoning, like introducing a close-up for the first time, and how the shots were, joined, how Griffith used parallel cutting, things like that. So these people analyzed the whole thing. So it became the basis. Very interesting, because two absolutely opposing ideologies, but films made in a capitalist economy,
like America,
being studied by the Soviets in the Soviet Union in Moscow. So there were 2-3 masters like that, Pudovkin, Eisentein, and a couple of others, who developed the idea of film theory, and they wrote film grammar. about. See, if you look at a film like Battleship Potemkin, it's a great illustration of what he wrote in the terms of theory. So, films now were studied as a very important work of art. So then it happened that in Germany, in France, and different European countries, they started very different kinds of cinema. Expressionist films, impressionist films, and all that. They were actually extensions of what happened in the painting, in the area of painting, art. So these very interesting movements again contributed to cinema. Of course, in the beginning, cinema was some kind of a magic, some kind of a novelty, nothing beyond that. Then people sat up very slowly and looked at it and said, "My God, it's a very important medium."
Through which we can convey something.
Yes, because it became a very popular medium as well. And also, when it was growing in the first stage, it was the First World War. Again, that made it possible for the American industry, the Hollywood, in fact, by that time was established. They started making films primarily to be entertaining, for the people involved in the war. So they were making films, Chaplin's films, and those films were coming out at that time. And then practically it is not only soldiers, but then it became a world kind
movement.
of scene. Yeah? People started watching it everywhere. So this is how it developed. So the great classics were made during that period. It was silent cinema. The very great masters were there in the silent period. And then slowly sound came to the film medium. Then there was a whole period of confusions and then developments and all that. Then it became an integral part. First, people even thought, the hardcore people thought sound will spoil the cinema because it was so perfect in its silent form. Sound came as an intrusion. That's what they thought. Initially, it happens always, with a change. Then they found that sound has great possibilities. And Chaplin did a film where somebody accidentally swallows a whistle. So every now and then the whistle starts blowing. And that he made comedy out of that, So the sound also was very creatively used like that. Then came the period of color in the cinema. All these new developments first was resisted and then slowly assimilated. This is what happened in the whole progress of cinema. But then in the whole process, it was gaining its status as a very important art of the human race.
Which is common for all the people.
In 1917, very interesting, Lenin in Soviet Union said, "Cinema for us is the most important of all arts."
Oh.
So they gave a lot of emphasis on the kind of, basically they wanted it for propaganda, for spreading the ideology down to the ordinary people all around the Soviet Union. Even they thought of spreading it outside the Soviet Union. So that became a medium for propaganda and publicity. Like that, it was during that period, Hitler had he had a filmmaker called a lady called Leni Riefenstahl. She was in charge of making again propaganda films for Hitler. And some of the great films were made by her. Oh. But then it is propaganda. It is today when you look at it, you may say, "Look, this is Nazi propaganda." But all the same, she made great films. And because there was the time when they had this world sports event,
Olympics.
World Olympics, yes. When it was held in Germany, and they made fantastic films. But then it always projected the German spirit. Uh-huh. Very important. So,
keeping aside the ideologies, we can appreciate the filmmaking.
Yes, film medium became such a very, very forceful medium for conveying an idea. So it was Leni Riefenstahl, although she was very close to Hitler, she lived beyond the Nazi period. In fact, she died much later as a very old woman. very active until her last days. And I remember seeing a film made on her. Remarkable.
Wonderful.
Remarkable. So in each region, in each with every scope in front, there were great films being made.
They were masters.
They were masters. And then came the Second World War. It was even worse in its impact. So, but then again, the cinema was a very important weapon there also. And through the wars, Hollywood got completely established as this main production center of entertainment films for the world. For the world. They had the edge over the others. Mainly because in the Second World War, America was not directly involved. So the materials, to be used for making films, they became very scarce in Europe and elsewhere. Whereas America had it in abundance. So they could make these films.
They were basically playing safe.
Yes, they were. No, actually, they got involved. Of course, they become an ally later, but then they were not directly the way Europe was. So that was one thing. And then during all these periods, you have absolutely great films made, and you admire that. So that means then in the 50s, 60s, 50s came the new wave. Just immediately after the war came the neo-realistic films from Italy. Films like A Bicycle Thief and other films were being made. And came very important filmmakers, Fellini, Pasolini, all those great masters came out of the Second World War, and much later they came to the screen. And around the same time, immediately after, actually by the end of the 50s, came the French movement called the New Wave. So there were great masters coming out of that movement. They were basically critics who were working with the magazine called Cahiers du Cinema. Cahiers du Cinema was the main publication available at that time, where very novel ideas were being discussed and debated. So some of these writers turned filmmakers, and that was a time when the French industry was following the example of the Hollywood, like investing huge amounts of money in productions, and then they have series of flops. So these young people from the Cahiers du Cinema told them, look, with one film like that, with the kind of money you spend on that one,
we can make more movies.
We can make 20 films, 25, 30 films like that. So they got the finance like that, and each of them started making films. Came very important filmmakers, these films like 400 Blows and other films were being made in that period. And not only that, towards 57, 58, in the Cannes Film Festival, these films for 1 or 2 years continuously they were getting the top awards. So with that, it became established, and this new wave traveled to all the other countries. We went to Germany first, and then even Soviet Union. We traveled to the other European countries, East European countries. Even to India, it traveled. By the 60s, it started. Our new cinema was a result of that. So if Ray was inspired by neo-realism of the late 40s, this was of the late 50s. After a decade or so, this came. So filmmakers like me were greatly inspired by this new wave, because we were students at the Film Institute in Pune at that time, and we got to see all these films as soon as they were made, because in this institute we had our own library of films. There was a small archive was in its making at that time. So we got to see all these films, and we also had our own masters like Ray, Mrinal Sen, Katak. Katak became my teacher, in fact, at the institute. He was the professor of direction and vice principal. So so many things happened together, and we had a wonderful professor called Professor Satish Bahadur, who was the professor of film appreciation. So for the first time we realized film appreciation does not mean that you see a film and tell everyone, oh, it's wonderful. It's not that.
Not just for liking the movie.
It's not like that. That's a very pedestrian explanation of film
Appreciation.
Appreciation means you analyze the film, you discuss how it was made, how the structure, the way it is being made, what is new in it, so many things. It is a study of the film in detail, in fact. So like that, we had a wonderful time analyzing these films, understanding these films, and we used to say we dream films at that time, and then we see films, dream films, we eat films, we drink films.
Oh.
That was the period of 3 years we spent there.
So talking about all these international ideologies and international market, உங்களோட படங்களுக்கு எப்பவுமே பல நேரங்களில் நம்ம ஊரை விட இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் மார்க்கெட்டில் நிறைய பேர் இருக்குன்னு உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். அது ஒரு ஃபிலிம் மேக்கராக உங்களுக்கு வருத்தமா சந்தோஷமா?
The problem is, it is there, it is very deep rooted, because at home the audiences are used to a certain kind of cinema from their birth, in fact, especially in the present generation and the last generation in our country. They have grown up watching a kind of cinema which is called entertainment films, which the only purpose of which was to give immediate, instant entertainment for the audiences. It never made people think. So you go to see films to forget your worries of the day. In the evening, you go and sit there, you forget everything else, you watch some interesting things. Sometimes you cry, most of the time you laugh. Now that's the time you spend inside the cinema. So they were never prepared for a serious work of cinema, where your life is being seen very closely. It is looked at very closely and very observingly. And that kind of cinema will bore them. They say this film, it is boring.
Art film.
Art film. Art film. Bore adikkude. That is the term they would say, watching those films. Actually, it comes out of a lack of understanding, a lack of familiarity about a kind of cinema which is the true cinema. A cinema, like any other work of art, of course it should entertain you. This is very important. It should not bore you. A film which is boring an audience is not a good film. But then it is the responsibility of the audience to be initiated to the language of cinema. Very important. They feel bored because they are unfamiliar with it. Because they have already developed a notion about what cinema should look like.
Some prejudices.
Yes, very, very strong. Even today people ask me, why don't you have songs in your cinema? I tell them, look, not only songs, there are many other things absent. Why you ask only about the songs? So that means they think cinema should have songs. Cinema should have comedians, at least minimum 1 or 2. It should have that kind of situations where we are used to. At one time, a sequence of 1 or even more rapes was one box office formula. You should have. People used to enjoy a rape scene. People used to enjoy somebody stabbing somebody else.
Violence.
Violence became a box office element. So it means there can be violence. A film can be made on violence. It is not like that. You want a bit of everything.
We need everything.
You need everything.
A bit of violence.
You want masala.
Masala.
That is what you call masala cinema. So that is what we got taste for. But it's very difficult to make a very honest film. It talks about your life. It talks about you. It's about the people around you. It's about the society, the times we are living in, all that. It's very, very important. That kind of cinema will make you aware of life. That will make you understand yourself. Ultimately, that kind of cinema will make you a better person, a better individual, a better citizen.
Which is the ultimate objective of an art form.
Okay. So there the entertainment is very deep. It is not at the superficial skin level. It goes much deeper.
உங்களுடைய முதல் படத்துலேருந்து இப்போ ரிலீஸ் ஆன பின்னையும் வரைக்கும் யூ பீன் வெரி ஹானஸ்ட். இது எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும். பட் ஒரு ஃபிலிம் மேக்கராக அடூர் கோபாலகிருஷ்ணனுக்கு ப்ரவுட் மூமெண்ட்னா தாதா சாஹேப் ஃபால்கே அவார்டு வாங்கினதா இல்லை உங்களோட பின்னையும் 100 தியேட்டருக்கு மேலே ரிலீஸ் ஆனதா?
Both are fine. There's nothing like you cannot compare one with the other. And also, See, whether it will run 100 days or 50 days or even just 1 week, that again depends on the kind of cinema you have made. Because every time I make a film, I don't make it like the film I made before. For me, it will be very boring to repeat myself. So I made a very successful formula film. So everybody liked it. So I should be making that same kind of formula. I hate it. So every time I am trying to say things in a new way, different way, and my concerns are every time different from the one I did before. And I am very particular that the film that I make should live beyond the period in which it is made. It's very important. Because otherwise it will be like newspaper reports. You read yesterday's paper, forget it. By the time the today's paper comes, that
becomes old.
Discarded. It is discarded. That is nothing more than that. So it is it gives you an instant kind of feeling of, yes, it is very contemporary. That's all, it's over. So what is important is, because I see films from the 40s, 50s, 60s, the great films, they are called the classics. They are forever. Its impact is forever. Whether you see it now or tomorrow, they will have its impact on the mind. That's very important.
உங்களுடைய பின்னையும் மட்டும்தான் எந்த விதமான ஃபெஸ்டிவல்ஸ்லையும் ஸ்க்ரீன் பண்ணாமல் எடுத்தோடனே ஒரு தியேட்டர்கள் ரிலீஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க. இந்த ஒரு மூவ்க்கான காரணம் என்ன?
It was not intentional.
Oh.
Normally I would have waited until it was opening. It was already opening in the Toronto Film Festival, one of the biggest festivals in the world. It's a very prestigious festival. But we found that cinema houses would be free around that sometime, and my actor Dilip, he has a distribution concern, so he said he will help, and he has a wide. It's possible for that company to have. He has wide contacts, so he said it could be released not only in Kerala but outside Kerala also. This I have been wanting to do within Kerala in the original language, and outside Kerala with subtitles in English. That was the idea. So the film could be released in about 70 cinemas, nearly 100 cinemas in Kerala, and about 25 to 30 cinemas outside Kerala, including Chennai, Bombay,
Hyderabad,
Bangalore. Hyderabad was not there. Delhi, Pune, like that. But then not just one cinemas. The place like Bombay, they released it in 4 or 5 cinemas in different places. So that was a big release for me. Actually, so far I did not have such a big release. Otherwise, it will be maximum. When I made my first film, it was released in Madras also, along with Kerala. But then later, the release of Malayalam films there was a theatre on the Mount Road. I forget the title and the name of the theatre now, because it's now demolished. You cannot even see where it was. So they used to release Malayalam films there. So my first film was released there in that cinema. Later, it became very difficult for Malayalam films to be released in Madras. There was a time. For a long period, usually Malayalam films were not getting released in Madras. Then slowly they started, when the multiplexes, when they came, they started releasing Malayalam films in the multiplexes.
உங்களுடைய படம் மதிலுகள் வைக்கம் முகமது பஷீர் அவருடைய நாவலை தழுவி எடுக்கப்பட்டது. அந்த படத்தை அவங்க பார்த்தாங்களா? பார்த்தோன்னே என்ன சொன்னாங்க?
He was the first one to see it. As soon as the film was completed in Madras, all the work was completed. I took the print. I talked to M.T. Vasudevan, who is another very important writer in Kerala. So I talked to him and I said, we should arrange a screening for Basheer in Kozhikode, and you could also invite all friends of Basheer and other friends in Kozhikode. So we arranged like that, and then I took the print to Kozhikode, had the first screening in his presence, and he was very pleased. I could see he was very pleased with that film. And immediately after the screening of the film, the press club there, they wanted a meet the press with me, and I suggested to them invite Basheer also. So he also came. So for both of us were facing the press at the press club, and he was so excited that every question they were asking, Basheer was answering. So it was such overwhelming response that he had to the film, and then he became very close to me. He was a very senior writer, but then I was much junior to him in age and all that. But I got all his affection. After that, we were very close until he died.
உங்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் உங்களோட ஜேர்னியில் ஒரு ஃபிலிம் மேக்கர் படத்துக்கு வர நெகட்டிவ் ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் எல்லாம் எடுத்துக்கிட்டு அவரோட ஃபிலிம் மேக்கிங்கை மாற்றிக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்களா, இல்லை மக்களோட ரெஸ்பான்ஸை எப்படி எடுத்துக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க?
Usually I don't go and sit inside a hall where the film is released. Because when you sit with an audience and watch it, there can be responses from the audience which can misguide you.
Misguide the filmmaker?
Yes, it can happen. Sometimes, it's very interesting, I'll tell you a story. Sometimes one of my films was being released in the cinemas. And it was quite popular. And Manalsan, around that time, we call him Manalda, brother Manalsan. So he called me, how is the film going? He asked me. I said, it is going well. Oh, then he asked me, don't you think there is something wrong with your film? Because for the audience to lap it up like that, the film has to have some problem. That's what he says. Because there is a theory that the audience, when you make the audience think, they don't like it. But when I make a film, I am very particular that I should make them think.
You should make the audience think.
Otherwise, it makes no sense. But the audience doesn't want to think. That's the problem. Commercially successful films are those which do not ask the audience to think. It's complete, they're in agreement with the audience taste. That's what happens. So, audience responses can be very misleading. Sometimes negative, sometimes positive. Both can be misleading, like Donaldson said. Both can be misleading. When it flops at the box office, then also there is something wrong. That does not mean that you should next try to make something which they will like. That will be very dishonest to do. So I believe in a certain. I have complete faith in what I am doing. I have all every bit of things that I do is with a plan, with a reason, with a design. So I am very sure about what I am doing.
You are very honest.
I am not honest. This is the only thing I can do.
Okay.
I cannot be dishonest to myself. So I am doing what I think is right. So but at the same time, I think the audience also, the better lot of them, should also like it, because it is meant for them. Just as I enjoyed making it, the audience should also enjoy it. So that's what happens. So some of my films, they are better understood and appreciated outside India. Some of them are better understood. In fact, my films, basic audience of my films is the Kerala audience. Nobody can understand my films better than Kerala audience. But if they refuse to understand, what can I do? That's it.
A very famous Bengali director, Ritu Parno Ghosh, அவங்களும் நீங்களும் ஜப்பானில் ஒரு ஃபிலிம் ஃபெஸ்டிவலில் உட்காந்து எங்களுடைய இருவர் படம் பார்த்ததா சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ ஃபார் யூ இருவர் அப்படின்ற ஒரு படம், ஹவு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் இஸ் த மூவி? அந்த மாதிரி திராவிடியன் பாலிடிக்ஸை பேஸ் பண்ணி வந்த ஒரு படம்.
I like the first half of the film. Second half, I think it was a little confused. First half was very good. I liked all the recreation of the old period and the acting style. Everything that he did was very, very interesting. Till the middle, it had problems with the prevailing politics in Tamil Nadu at that time. I could see that.
Oh, you could see that?
Yes. So that's how he was a little confused about the second part. This was my feeling. But I like the film a lot, particularly the first half. It was very good.
உங்களுடைய டீமில் அசிஸ்டன்ட் டைரக்டர்ஸ்க்கு என்ன மாதிரி குவாலிட்டிஸ்லாம் நீங்கள் எதிர்பார்ப்பீங்க? உங்களோட டீம் சைஸ் எவ்வளோ?
Very small.
Very small?
Very small. I have my first assistant who is a constant. He has been working with me on most of my films. He is not a regular film industry assistant. He is actually Only recently he retired as the head of the Department of Bureau of Economics and Statistics. So he at the time of my shooting, he's a friend. So at the time of his shooting, he will come. He has seen films. He has seen my me with me on all these films. So he has a good taste. So somebody like me is the first assistant. It's called the chief assistant. And then to help him, there are others, three, four of them.
That's all.
That's all, not more. Because I don't like a crowd around me when I am working. Who would be watching you like that? No. Everybody should be working.
நீங்கள் ஒரு கான்க்ளேவில் ஒரு மீட்டிங்கில் சொல்லியிருந்தீங்க, பாகுபலி மாதிரி ஒரு படம் இவ்வளோ மணி இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி எடுக்கிறது அவசியம் இல்லாத ஒரு விஷயம். அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் இந்த படம் தான் இந்தியன் சினிமாவாக இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் லெவலில் ஒரு அறிமுகமாக அடையாளமாக இருக்கிறதே வந்து எனக்கு உடன்பாடு இல்லைன்னு சொல்லியிருந்தீங்க. எங்களுக்கு என்ன ஒரு சந்தேகம் வருதுன்னா, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு படம் பண்ணும்போது விஎஃப்எக்ஸ் இல்லை இமேஜினேஷன் இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆகுதே, அதுக்கு இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ண வேண்டியதாக இருக்கே.
I have not really seen the film. I have only heard about it. I have seen just parts of it here and there. But I am told by people who saw it, who are absolutely reliable, I am told it other than special effects, there is nothing in it. It is like Ayan Dalevangi Aburu Sindhamani or Padala Bhairavi, done in today's time with VFX and all that. Nothing more than that. It doesn't say anything. It is not even fiction. It is fictitious. Fiction is all right. If it doesn't touch you anywhere in terms of your life you live. Now we are living in a different period, and then people look at things because basically who is the audience for those films? They are the ordinary people who think this is happening, just before you, and all the spectacle and all that. They are overwhelmed by that. And also a film with that kind of budget is spending as much as the budget on publicity. And you are brainwashed. The poor audience is brainwashed.
To watch the
They are told that this is the greatest thing happening because we have spent so much money on it. And every media is writing about it. It's not only as ad, but also paid ad. I read a newspaper and there are stories about this film. There are stories about this film inside as news and things like that. These are planted as advertisement. But the poor reader is not aware of that. He thinks it is all
these things are real.
All authentic and real. So you are cheated in some way. So what happens is you don't need 400 crores to make a good film. You don't need it. When a film like that becomes a model, it doesn't stop at that. The film was given the best award for the best film national awards. It was chosen as the best Indian film. I was very surprised and I felt very sorry for it. Because national awards were not instituted for that. It was instituted for films of high aesthetic quality, films of social relevance, films of social value, films of humane character, and so many things. There was very, very set ideas about why the national awards should be instituted. So this is completely a contravention of all that. None of those qualities will match there, except that EFX. EFX, you spend money, you can make EFX. So what? It's a mechanical process, EFX. Somebody flying, somebody emerging out of the sea, a monster coming out. So this Hollywood and everybody have been doing it. I don't say that no film should be made like that, but then this film should be specified as, yes, this is kind of fantasy. That doesn't qualify to be India's #1 film. That gives a very bad message. That's what I said.
Adoor Gopalakrishnan அவர்கள் 2 பேர் கூட இருந்த புகைப்படத்தை நான் பார்த்தேன். ஒன்று மிஸ்டர் Satyajit Ray.
Satyajit, I was very close to him. And he used to like my work a lot. And the first time he saw a film of mine was Kodiyatam in Delhi at the time of the International Festival in Delhi. I had held a very private screening of the film and I went and invited Ray to see it. I did not know him before, nor did he know me, so as strangers, but he came to see the film. And in 10 minutes he started laughing aloud in the hall, ho, 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 like that. It was such a voluminous voice he had. And everybody in the hall was looking back, who is laughing like that. He enjoyed it thoroughly. And after the film, he wanted to talk to me. So we went back. We were staying at the Ashoka Hotel. So we went and sat there and talked at length about the film, about my work, about this thing. From that time onwards, he has been seeing every film of mine.
Oh.
And then we used to, after the screening, next day, he would invite me home. Then I go and we sit there and talk. Those used to be great sessions. And it was in some Bengali paper. So somebody from Bengal took a cutting of that and sent me the translation. So the questioner asked, who is your favorite director? He said, Adoor and nobody else. That was quite a big tribute. And the last film he saw of mine was Madhilugal. It was 90 January. He was very ill at that time. And it was being shown in the Gorky Sadan. Gorky Sadan, no car can go to the Gorky Sadan directly. You have to climb a few steps. So he said, I am advised by the doctor not to climb any steps. Let me see, he said. So I was not very sure if he would come.
You don't want to pressurize him?
Yes, I never do that. But then I had a feeling that he will come. So the show was about to start. 5 minutes before that, I was starting outside. And I saw him stepping out of the car, down the steps. And then he slowly walking upward. And he came on. And he came and sat through the film. He liked the film a lot. First thing he said was, marvelous, Adoor, marvelous. This was the response he came out with. So I was very pleased that suddenly, this was international festival, suddenly his response spread all over. And the next day the Calcutta papers reported, Ray comes to see Adoor's film. That was news because he was so ill. Yes. So he was very, very affectionate.
Wonderful.
Yes. So I always respect elders. They have opened the way for us. So we take that path.
We need to respect that.
Always, you have to. Today's generation, they think that they had to attack. They had to propagate things against you and all that. That's a very wrong attitude. In that process, they don't learn. They think they know, but then they don't know.
And one more most happy picture. Charlie Chaplinoட statue பக்கத்துல உங்களோட photo பார்த்தேன்.
In London.
Yeah.
Yes. And the story is that the studios used to hire him. So all the cameras will be ready, all the lighting will be ready and all that. He will be sitting somewhere. And sometimes he will sit there for the whole day, no ideas comes to his mind. So that day will pass. But then they will patiently, the production house will patiently wait for him to have inspiration to do the film.
Now you don't have all those time?
Filmmakers don't have all the time. The film producers don't have any time. They are highly pressured. So that's not the period. But then his film meant suddenly, immediate, instant popularity. Anything that Chaplin did, even those skits that he did not approve of, they come out after he died. And they are being circulated, they are being sold. It is a great value.
இந்த காலத்தில் ஃபிலிம் மேக்கர்ஸ்லாம் போயிட்டு ஒரு கதையை சொல்லி ஒரு ப்ரொடியூசரை கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணி ஒரு படம் பண்ணுறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. உங்கள் காலத்தில் ஃபிலிம் ரோல் அதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்டட் இருக்கும் இல்லையா? அப்போது எப்படி?
I have never done that in my life.
You have never met a producer, convinced him?
I have through my friends, I have contacted a couple of friends as soon as I came out of the Film Institute in 1965. I never talked to them about the story and all that. But in those days, the producers who had made a couple of films, they never believed that the filmmaking can be learned. They thought the only way to make films is to go to Kodambakam, be an assistant to somebody, spend half your life under
someone else,
under him, start from the 10th or 11th assistant and go up. If you are lucky, by the time you are around 50, you may get a chance, you may not get a chance. That was the course. So they never believed that somebody as young as I was at that time, about 21, 22 years old, going and telling somebody, I would like to have you produce my films. So they felt very unconvinced about it. And nobody even, those people even not were aware, they were not even aware that there was a film institute and it is one of the best in the world. The training that you get is absolutely wholesome, because you get training in every branch of filmmaking and you make films there. You have all these practical things. People don't understand these things. So it was very difficult to convince anybody. After a couple of trials, I gave up. I have never gone and narrated any story to anybody, never. I did not reach that stage where producer would ask you, tell me the story. No.
அந்த பக்கத்துக்கே போகல.
அந்த பக்கம் வரையும் போகல. அதுக்கு முன்னாடியே அனுப்பியாச்சு திருப்பி.
அடூர் அப்படின்ற ஃபிலிம் மேக்கர் ரொம்ப அடார் பண்ணுறது பிளாக் அண்ட் ஒயிட் தானா? ஏன்னா டிஐ வந்த பிறகு நிறைய விஷயங்கள் ஆட் பண்ணுறோம், நிறைய என்ஹான்ஸ் பண்ணுறோம். பட் அந்த பிளாக் அண்ட் ஒயிட்டில் இருக்க ஒரு செக்ஸி ஃபீல், அந்த உண்மை அது இல்லைன்னு ஃபீல் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க என்னைக்காவது?
See, it's like, in painting also, you can do black and white. You can also do color. Both are different approaches. So when Satyajit Ray made his first color film, there was a lot of criticism. They said, here is poverty in Eastman color. That's a very bad way of approaching it. So when a new medium is, when you come, when you are faced with something you are not familiar, first you try to thrash it, and then slowly you accept it. You have no way but to accept it.
And then we'll slowly start enjoying it.
Yes. Then you have to necessarily regret what you thought at best. This is what happens. So change is always like that. Any change, there will be resistance. With films also, when every time you are trying to do something new, every time you are facing friction with the audience stage.
Previous episode of Behind Maatheyosi with Maatheyosi கீழே Mr. Ravi, thank you Behind for presenting this wonderful conversation அப்படின்னு கமெண்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்க. We strongly believe இந்த எபிசோட் Adoor Gopalakrishnan கூட நாம் பேசின ஒவ்வொரு விஷயமுமே ரொம்ப நல்ல விஷயம். இந்த எபிசோடும் எங்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒரு வண்டர்ஃபுல் எபிசோட் தான் கண்டென்ட் வைஸ். ஸோ நாங்கள் உங்கள்கிட்ட கேட்குறது ஒரே ஒரு விஷயம் தான், உங்களுக்கு சினிமா மேலே அதிக ஆசையும் பற்றும் இருந்தது அப்படின்னா, இல்லை உங்கள் சர்க்கிளில் இந்த இன்டர்வியூவில் நிறைய பெயர்களும் நிறைய ஃபிலிம் மேக்கிங் பற்றி வரலாறுகளும் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கோம், இதெல்லாம் யாருக்காவது பிடிக்கும் அப்படின்னு உங்களுக்கு தோணுச்சுன்னா இதை போய் அவங்கள்ட்ட போட்டு காமிங்க, இல்லை அவங்கள பார்க்க சொல்லுங்கள். இது வரைக்கும் எந்த வீடியோவுமே நான் இந்த மாதிரி உங்கள்கிட்ட பாருங்கள் பல பேர்கிட்ட போட்டு காமிங்கன்னு சொன்னதே கிடையாது. இந்த இன்டர்வியூ அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ, அதனால் நாங்கள் சொல்கிறோம் பல பேருக்கு பல விஷயங்களை அறிமுகப்படுத்தக்கூடிய ஒரு கான்வர்சேஷனாக இது எங்களுக்கு அமைந்தது. ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். அதே மாதிரி உங்களுக்கும் இது ஒரு வேல்யூபிள் கான்வர்சேஷனாக இருக்கும் அப்படின்ற நம்பிக்கையோட நன்றி சொல்லிக்கிறேன். தேங்க்ஸ் அலாட். இந்த வீடியோவை பார்த்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு என்ன தோணுச்சு, உங்களுக்கு